Okay, let's talk about individual chapter organizing. This is a great example of a terrible chapter. This is flat, meaning that if a student comes in here and sees all these things like that, they may or may not, and most likely will not, be able to navigate through and understand where they're at right now, what they should be working on right now, what they should be doing right now. There's no labels differentiating out anything. There's no indentation. It's just a straight list of stuff that I have added in a course, and it's just kind of unbearable for a student that looks in at this. Not to mention the fact that those students that are on IEPs, 504s, or many other students can just become overwhelmed when they come into a new section and see that much stuff all at one time. So we want to A, organize those things within an individual section, and B, only make things visible that they are actually able to work on, making things come up as they're able to. So what does my real course look like on Chapter 7? Let's pop over that one and look at what Chapter 7 actually looks like over here. And I'm going to switch my role so that it's cleaned up. This is what Chapter 7 really looks like. And really, all of my chapters look pretty much the same. Students walk into it and see the ICANNs, self-assessment. They see any chapter reading broken out. They see all the chapter activities broken out, but they can only see what they can see. And then if there's a project, if there's a test section, and if there's any intervention section. So how do we do that well in our courses? And that's really by using labels and a little bit of indenting. And the biggest thing we can do is make every single one of them exactly the same. So really, I shouldn't be starting out at Chapter 7. It's just happened to be the one that I've kind of destroyed. We should be starting out at Chapter 1 and copying through the things so that the organization is the same throughout the course. And if we look at my course, if you're on Chapter 1, it's broken out exactly the same as Chapter 2. So when students come into a chapter, they begin to feel accustomed to what it looks like and how things are broken out exactly the same within the chapters. I'm not telling you what the best way to do yours because you have a different class than I do, but whatever way you decide to organize your individual sections, topics, or chapters, you do it the same throughout your course so your students get used to what it looks like. So how do I do that? So first of all, I'm going to turn editing on, and I'm going to add a label. Now, I can do it at the bottom and I can drag it up, or I can do it at the top, I can drag it down. I generally, when I'm doing a new thing, I do it up top and just drag it down to the section I'm on. By the way, this is a new version of 3.9. You may come in and have the whole list of stuff. If you star the things that you use, they show up over here in starred. And of all the things available in Moodle, these are the only 8 I use on a ongoing all the time basis. So I have those things starred, so it's easier for me to pick a label. So I do that. And I'm going to go ahead and add a label to break out my chapter. Okay, so when I'm adding the label, I always add a space, so it separates it from the thing before it. I'm going to add chapter, reading, and then I'm going to hit enter, and then, actually I think I can put it at the end. There's this new button here that's a horizontal line. It just adds it right underneath there. I'm going to hit save and return to course. And now I'm going to drag this down. Where am I at? Chapter 7. I'm going to drag it down in front of my chapter reading right there. Now, here's the thing. If I was doing every single one of the sections, I'm not going to retype all these things. I'm going to do it in one section and then I'm going to duplicate it. So let's go ahead and finish. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. I'm going to do another label. I'm going to call it chapter activities. And hit that horizontal line button. I'm going to hit save and return. And I'm going to drag it down here in front of my chapter activities there. There we go. Whew, that was tough. And then I've got one on chapter tests at the bottom that I'm going to add as well, and just show you how I duplicate those then. I actually call them fights in my class. It's a gamified classroom, but for the sake of everyone knowing what I'm talking about, I'm going to go ahead and call it a test, and I'm going to drag it down here to break that off. Oops, I forgot my chapter project. I'll go ahead and do that down here at the end as well. Label, I always enter a space again. And that horizontal rule line. And since I was the bottom, it just made more sense to do it at the bottom and drag it up. So there are my section. Now, I've broken it up, but I haven't used indention on anything. And some of these things I might want to indent, like for instance, this one, after the project, the things that are related to the project, I'll go and indent those things related to the project itself. So it makes sense that these things go with that, and that this is a separate project. Now, I've got it organized relatively straightforward now, so that kind of when a student comes in, at least those things are broken out into areas in the classroom. The big thing next is to make sure that students only see what makes sense for them to see. And there's two ways to do this. One of which I consider the tedious, hard, and over time gets really annoying way, and that is to hide and unhide everything. And that's what I think most teachers are used to doing. Most teachers just go and turn editing on, and they go through and they say, well, we're starting here, so I'm going to go ahead and hide all these things that we're doing in class, and then I will unhide them as we get to that point. However, going through an entire Moodle class and hiding all these things and saying, okay, I'll unhide them when we get there, over time becomes ridiculous. Just that took me a little while to do, and now if a student comes in here, and I'm going to go ahead and switch role to student for a second. If a student comes in here, now they only see this one section, and obviously I would have done all the rest of those down there as well, so that they just see, hey, they come in here and they see these couple things, and then I unhide them as I go. That is one way of doing it. And we definitely want students not to come into a class virtually and be inundated with everything they're going to do for the entire chapter. That overwhelms students. So if nothing else, organize it and hide it. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to make it happen automatically for you, so you set it up one time and then don't ever have to do it again.